So, funny story for you here. Yesterday, Thursday, I was on the train on the way home, and I was, just trying to, I guess, be entertaining on Twitter. And I like to think that I'm pretty tapped into the fan base because at the heart of it, I am a old fan at this point, right? I've been a fan for Rutgers 40 years. I'm an alum. I obviously cover Rutgers sports. I have a daily podcast. I'm a sicko right with everybody else. And so I had a poll I put out on Twitter, and it reads the most superstitious reason why Rutgers could have a losing season. And, you know, here we are Friday afternoon, and this is now a rapid reaction podcast to the abrupt, immediate announcement that Pat Hobbs, longtime athletic director at Rutgers, has resigned. Suddenly, some details have come out from the reporting from Brian Fonseca of NJ.com that it's health related. And this poll, all of a sudden, which is still live, by the way, coming to you a little bit about an hour after the news broke. I already was on WRSU. They asked me to come on and give some thoughts on the air live, and now doing this rapid reaction. And my reasons for the superstitious tweet was the football gods ordained it. Trendy sleeper, bad karma. Are you screw appears again. Are you can't have nice things. Unsurprisingly, are you screw appears again and are you can't have nice things are neck and neck, right around 40% each. And I did not expect that tweet to be relevant. I was trying to give people a laugh and keep the good vibes going. And here we go. Pat Hobbs announcing his resignation from Rutgers. Want to cite Brian Fonseca for his reporting. Just going to read a couple quotes he has so I don't misinterpret or misspeak. So this is from Brian Fonseca's story on NJ.com. And this is in regard to an email that Pat Hobbs has sent. It was obtained by NJ Advanced Media. This is what he explained to the athletic department via email. Quote, earlier this morning, I shared with Rutgers University President Jonathan Holloway that I am departing my position as athletic director at Rutgers University. I truly believe we are writing the greatest chapter in Rutgers history, and I'm confident that you will continue to do so. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve with you. I look forward to enjoying all of your success this season and in the years ahead. In a letter sent to Holloway, this is unquote, obtained by NJ Advanced Media, Hobbs explained the reasoning for his decision. Quote, after meeting with my cardiac team this week and having just been apprised of the results of my latest round of testing, it is clear that I cannot continue to serve as athletic director given the requirements of the position. I recognize this is not the ideal timeline to depart. However, other factors need to take precedence, unquote. So, quite the Friday news dump. First of all, best wishes to Pat Hobbs. Hope that whatever health issues he is dealing with, that he makes a full recovery. And all Rutgers fans owe him a debt of gratitude for what he has done over these 9 years. He inherited a disaster. Rutgers going into the Big Ten, ill-equipped from a facility standpoint, from an infrastructure standpoint, from an administrative standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint. Did I mention facilities? I can't remember if I did or not. Again, this is a rapid reaction. I'm not editing this. This is just off the cuff. And Pat Hobbs did a very good job. He wasn't perfect, but where Rutgers is today, they're in a much better place, Rutgers Athletic Department, than they were when he got here in 2015. And that is the ultimate judge of how anyone does in any job, in any position. And it is undoubtedly clear that Pat Hobbs has put Rutgers Athletics in a much better position now that he is suddenly departing from when he arrived. Soon after that Thanksgiving massacre, when Kyle Flood and Julie Herman were both terminated on the same day, that Sunday. Still remember it like yesterday. And that was my first year covering Rutgers for On the Banks. And I've told this story many times. But the bottom line is, In terms of facilities, Rutgers, there's still work to be done. He was obviously working on the rack renovations. Shiano has talked in recent days about the practice facility, or the renovation, or the new practice facility for football, I should say. And, we've been hearing there was a master plan coming. We never got that. In terms of where Rutgers is facility-wise, though, the APC, obviously the Rodkin Center, weight rooms, there's been a lot of facilities work that's been done, and Rutgers is in a far better position because of it. And that is a big part of what he's done. Hiring Steve Peichel to turn around men's basketball is another. I mean, as an athletic director, right, your job is to hire the right coaches. And hiring Steve Peichel, where Rutgers was number 279 in KenPom the year before Hobbs and Peichel arrived, to now going into the most anticipated season, arguably in program history, simply because I think the 75-76 season, people had hopes, and that was a great team. But also the day and age with social media and the way the news cycle is, I think even if people thought that that team almost 50 years ago was going to be a Final Four team, there wasn't the machine that goes into it in terms of PR and all that. So I think that qualifies this as the most anticipated season probably ever in program history. And that very much is in part because Steve Peichel is entering his 9th year as the head coach. And what Hobbs and Peichel built together is remarkable, because Rutgers was a laughingstock program in college basketball for years and years and years. So commend him for that. He made a lot of good coaching hires across the athletic department. You could talk about retaining good coaches that were there before him. Obviously, Scott Goodell, Meredith Civico, two that come to mind. Brian Brecht got a Final Four. In terms of some of the hires, I mean, I know it's not a revenue sport, but Justin Price, rowing, made them a national power. He's also retained Mike O'Neill. Again, rapid reaction. I'm not going to be perfect in this. Jim McKeldry's been a good hire. You have now going into the spring, hired Melissa Lehman, Steve Owens. He's made some good hires, but none better and none close than Steve Peichel. Of course, Greg Schiano coming. That story's been long documented and don't need to get into it in terms of the logistics of that hire. But Schiano obviously has football back, and that is a huge thing for the entire athletic department. And for all intents and purposes, publicly, Schiano and Hobbs all said the right things, and football is in a far better place. And Schiano now going into the most anticipated football season in quite some time. So from a timing standpoint, do I think that this is going to hurt or impact football or men's basketball this season? No, I don't. It is a tumultuous time in college sports with NIL, as well as the NCAA ruling. Potentially the following school year, the $22 million allocated to student athletes could go into effect. We don't know for sure. It's looking that way. So in terms of long-term planning, in terms of staying on top of trends, the immediacy of this departure hurts. And going into a school year, it's not good. Again, Pat Hobbs stating and being reported as such that citing health reasons for leaving. We wish him the best, and we thank him for his service. Where Rutgers athletics is in the Big Ten now, from when he started, far better place. You can't argue that. That's indisputable. And it wasn't a perfect tenure. There was issue with softball. Kristen Butler, still the coach, also a Pat Hobbs hire, but there was a little bit of a controversy there. And then also the swimming and diving coach from a few years ago, and Rutgers lost a lawsuit with the termination of that coach. So that was a stain. And, there was also a story at one point about the controller, and it was not a perfect tenure. There's been a lot of controversy, or I guess I would say unrest among some in terms of how Hobbs approached NIL, the changes in the last couple of years. Some felt slow to adjust, slow to embrace it. I do think, and I've said in the past, I think New Jersey, in terms of the state, the laws, Rutgers, all the red tape that there is, they took a cautious approach, right? And Hobbs is a lawyer. So I think that it was fair to be critical, I think, but it's also unfair to not look at it from both sides. And listen, you could always argue, I mean, Rutgers could be in a better spot NIL-wise than they are. And I think that's what's so critical about this next hire, is getting someone to really put Rutgers in a better position with NIL. But Rutgers has done some things. They've hired an NIL manager. They have a lot of NIL forum is probably the wrong word, but outlets for student athletes to work on that. I've been critical of Hobbs with NIL. He made a statement last fall about student athletes and, NIL not being a priority for them. I thought that was ill-advised and out of touch. But at the same time, I thought he did ultimately move Rutgers forward in the NIL space, and they're not where they need to be. But listen, fundraising has been a problem for Rutgers for years and years and years and years in every aspect. And from our fund perspective, they're in a much better spot under Hobbs and the athletic department. I mean, Hobbs is the most successful fundraiser in athletics history. So fair to be critical of NIL, but overall, I think Rutgers as a whole has an NIL problem, just in terms of donors and other aspects. But having a perfect tenure is not a prerequisite. Turning things around, supporting student athletes, academically, Rutgers athletics is doing better than they ever have. Hobbs made that a priority. So he did a lot of things really well. And it's sad to see him go, especially in the circumstances of health reasons. And that, no one was more excited going into this year than Pat Hobbs in regard to where the athletic department is, and specifically football and men's basketball. And it's unfortunate. And it can never be easy as a Rutgers fan. I mean, now we thought we were so stable. I've cited for a while about the administration, Jonathan Holloway, Board of Governors, Hobbs, the coaches. There's alignment there. So this hire, this replacement, is going to be so crucial. It's probably an understatement. And they're going to have to get it right. Holloway announcing that the search will start as soon as possible. Ryan Passari, longtime chief of staff right underneath Pat Hobbs, is going to take over as the interim AD. And he's been at Rutgers a long time. He understands Rutgers. So that's a good decision there. And there's going to be a lot more to digest. There's going to be a lot more to unpack just in terms of the impact of this moving forward, what it means for Rutgers athletics, how they're going to adjust, potential candidates. Need time to unpack that all. But at the end of the day, we're all going into what we hope is a special year for Rutgers athletics. And for whatever reason it is, and obviously health, it's a terrible reason, you don't want to have this type of news happen. And you don't want your leader of the athletic department to leave and abruptly. So the timing is not good. But we're Rutgers fans, and we've been through a lot. And we have intestinal fortitude. So don't let this throw you off. I think the hope now is that all the coaches, student athletes get the support they deserve. And hopefully they find an able replacement that's going to be able to take where Hobbs got it and move this athletic department even more forward. And that's got to be the hope now. But every Rutgers fan owes Pat Hobbs a debt of gratitude and a thank you for what he's done. And it's sad to see him go, especially with the state of what we're about to go into. So it's never easy being a Rutgers fan. This is a shock to everyone. This was not leaked prior to. This was not out there. And just have to wish Hobbs well. And you have to believe I've been on record saying this. The first decade of Rutgers in the Big Ten was just a very small part in the grand scheme of things. And I really believe this next decade, you're going to see Rutgers have much greater success. And when they do, you would be remiss to not acknowledge and thank Pat Hobbs for the part that he played in that. And I really think that's going to become a reality. So thank you to Pat Hobbs. We wish you well in your next phase and in your recovery, your health journey. And I'm sure we'll see him around at Rutgers games, and he will be well thought of by many forever for what he did for Rutgers athletics. And now, the future's now. We're going into a critical year, football and basketball, and now we're looking for an AD. So I warned you. I said it was going to be a roller coaster, and here we are. The ride has begun for the 2024-2025 school year. We're all strapped in, as my favorite kid show, personally, Bluey, the father always says, strap in, kids. It's time to strap in. It's going to be a wild year, and this just is ramps it up faster and sooner than anyone anticipated. So we'll have plenty to track in terms of the replacement for Hobbs. But I hope everyone has a great weekend. And just, I think, we all need to be grateful. And the old way of panicking and worrying, this is Rutgers. This is family to us. We bleed and sweat Rutgers. And we've gotten through a lot over the years. The older you are, the more you got through. If you're younger, welcome to the party. And we'll get through this too. There's still a lot to look forward to. The future is going to be critical to continue the forward path, and that's why this replacement hire is going to be so important. Plenty to digest there, but I'll end my ramble, my rant, my rapid reaction by saying thank you to Pat Hobbs. Thank you for everything. We wish you the best, and get well soon. Thank you for everything.